We're live.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Today we're still in Hosea chapter 9. We stopped at verse 8 last week. We're going to go back to verse number 7 this week. We stopped at verse 8 last week. I think that's what I said. We're going to go back to verse number 7 this week. We were talking about the punishment of Israel. And Israel was being punished. Anybody know why? Say again? Okay, what? Particularly what sin? Okay. Okay, that's exactly true, but they chose to turn their back on their true God and worship other gods after they had been carried into the promised land. And this isn't the first time. This is the umpteenth time since I didn't count them all. This is the umpteenth time, and God has been fed up to here. That's my explanation of it. He has told, yes, ma'am.
Also, they were not only worshiping the false gods, they were also doing the rituals. False gods as well.
They were worshiping other gods, and they were worshiping them on their particular holy days, and they had moved their holy days onto God's holy days, and they were also worshiping them in God's holy place. So they had turned God's holy days into the false God's holy days, or rather turn the false God's holy days into God's holy days. And they were worshiping in God's holy place. Yes. So they had totally gone to a state of depravity. And so God had warned them time after time, just like he does us. God doesn't just give up on his people, and he doesn't turn his back on his people until his people turns their back on him. We stated that last week. Until they turn their backs on them, then he turns away. He said, but Pastor, he said he'd never leave us nor forsake us. That's under this covenant. He didn't say that under the old covenant. Under the old covenant, we'll get to that today. Under the old covenant, he gave blessings and curses. That's in the book of Deuteronomy. Well, it's even before the book of Deuteronomy. In the book of Deuteronomy, it's laid out explicitly, but I think it starts out in the book of Genesis. It gives the blessings and the curses. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You know how in the New Testament it says, we reap what we sow, so if you're planting seeds of wickedness and you're reaping that, isn't that a curse?
No,
Not from God.
not from God. That's your own doing. Yeah, that you reap what you sow, but the real curse is when he turns away. You reap what you sow is you doing this unto your own self. But these curses is God is doing it to you. You cannot get away from it when that God is doing it. When you are reaping what you're sowing, all you have to do is quit sowing. Stop sowing the bad seed.
And is it a form of discipline?
It's a discipline.
Still discipline.
This right here, this sowing is not a discipline at this point. This is God is turning them away. He has not only turned them away, as we'll see, he has really evicted them. He has given them the land. This land is always God's. Let us not forget that. When God gives you something, it's always God's. But it's yours as long as you keep the promises he said that he would give you if you keep these promises. But if you decide not to keep the promises, he will take it back and he will evict you out of the land. Therefore, you don't have the right to call yourself his people. You don't have the right to say that this is my land. You don't have the right to call yourself by his name anymore. He's totally turned it back on you. Yes, ma'am.
I was going to say also, when they don't do as God told them to do, when they, well, I let me put it this way. when they were doing things like eating the bread that they weren't supposed to be eating, that happened, they got fish for.
The punishment in that respect was that bread became defiled.
Yeah.
They could not offer that bread to God anymore. That bread would now only be good for their own sustenance. They could not offer it to God anymore. It is defiled before God. So now they have no offering for God. So punishment, yes, but now they have nothing to offer, and they have no God to offer it to.
Yes, yes.
Because at this point, you totally refuse.
Yeah.
You totally refuse it. So yes, we call it punishment, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
He calls it the day of visitation because that's the day he no longer visits them. It's over. It's all over.
That makes sense.
Yes,
I
yes.
guess, this was before he decided to like basically, not that any of us would like, turn away from God for instance, but I say we did, and we can always go back and decide to go after him and ask him for forgiveness and get that and get him back to us. So this was before he decided to like give people like that chance.
This is long before that.
Okay.
He still allowed them to come back though when they repented.
In this day, I'll tell you what happened to the first ones. First off, let me tell you what happened to the first one. And then I'll tell you what happened to this one as we go through these. Because he did not allow them to repent. We'll see that as we go through chapter number 9. The first ones that turned their back, they died in the wilderness. They were not able to come to them.
All get upstairs.
These, as we'll go through, these are the children of those. Right, these are the children of those. These are the children and grandchildren. They made it to the promised land. And what happened here is they got kicked out of the promised land. And, well, let's go through it and you
Because
will
only
see.
Joshua and Caleb got to come into the promised land. Moses only got to see it.
Only Joshua and Caleb out of that group, they were the adults. They were the only adults that got to come to the promised land. Not even Moses got to the promised land. He got to see it. The rest of them didn't even get to see it. They all died. So, yeah, they did not get to see it. Only the children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And that's this group he's talking to right here.
Okay.
So, no, they didn't get to repent. Guys, this is how I see God and Jesus. Somebody's not going to like me saying this. I don't mean this group here. This is how I see God and Jesus. Jesus is the one that came and brought the new covenant. That's what we
Well,
live.
this was before him.
This was long before Jesus. This was hundreds of years before
Okay.
Jesus.
That's why it makes sense, okay.
God was the kind of God that, when he said it, you did it or you were out.
Yeah.
Jesus was God's mercy. So before God's mercy came on the scene, you either did it or you were done. Jesus came along and said, give him another chance. Yeah, Jesus came along and said,
But God gave Jesus to the world, for Jesus to come back and say it.
God gave
So does
Jesus.
it explain, because obviously I can't read my question, does it explain and where does it explain when and I guess why God chose to give Mary and Jesus for the world, I guess?
When God chose to give Jesus to the world was in the beginning. Then Jesus was always a part of the plan.
But does it explain why?
Yes.
Because like, what I'm saying is like, it's just like, so he knew from the start that all these people were gonna die. If he
He
didn't
knew
think
from-
to give them a second chance
He knew
whatsoever.
in the
And
beginning.
decided at a certain point he was gonna create or give Jesus to the world for us as our second chance and third, however many
Yes.
chances it takes.
Yeah, that's what I preached about Sunday. The second chance, third, more, umpteen, yes, he knew from the beginning. He knew from the beginning, and then here comes the question, if he knew from the beginning, why did he create seven? We will
Yes,
never,
that part.
we will never know,
He didn't-
because we're not as
he
smart
didn't
as God.
create
Say again.
He didn't create Satan.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. Lucifer was the most beautiful angel.
That's,
That's exactly what created
God.
and then
So
pride,
how does it
pride was
explain
down
he
there.
created him? So he created him as an angel? Because that what you're telling me? That he created Lucifer as an angel and then Lucifer turned against him?
And then Lucifer looked at himself and said, oh my gosh, look how wonderful I am.
I'm just like, I guess my whole issue is that, unless I'm reading something wrong or misunderstanding something, is the fact that the way that people depict Satan to be this ugly creature
They are
is
so
so
wrong.
far wrong.
They are so far
Because
wrong.
I'm sitting here like, but he's not though.
No, he is not. And if you will get into the book of Ezekiel, you will see that he's not.
I know he's not. I didn't have to even read that part. I just knew. I was like, well,
Yeah, he was the
angel,
most-
how would he in any way be ugly? Like,
He was the most beautiful creature, but what he didn't know was the beauty he saw was a reflection of God.
I know it's still.
Yeah, what he saw was a reflection of God, and he took it to be himself. And so pride built up in him, and he thought, oh man, I am just this great, big, beautiful, shining being, man. I can do all of these things, but he didn't realize apart from God, you can do nothing.
Yeah.
And that's where we get messed up sometimes. We don't realize that apart from Jesus, we can do nothing. And so he messed up, just like he's saying to the Israelites here. But he gave them time, chance, chance. Not because he didn't like them, but because he did love them, but they didn't like God, because they got into this land where God said, don't follow after them.
Right.
And they forgot because they saw all of this milk and honey and grapes and they thought, wow, God gave us, look at what we have, but they forgot where they got it from.
Right.
And this is why in the beginning of this chapter, and we go back up here first, verse number 1, it said, rejoice not, O Israel, for joy as other people, for thou hast gone a whoring from God, thou hast loved the reward upon every cornful. You have looked at all of this stuff you got and you're rejoicing like it's yours. It's mine. I gave this to you.
I needed to be here tonight for this one because I feel like that I was just talking to Peg about wanting to realize the why I was going through the hardship. And I'm not saying I'm not really
What was
but
first
like to
one?
realize like when I thought I had something and realizing like now it's like I'm definitely not only grateful for what I have, but will continuously be grateful for anything that I get from here on out. And because it's like I thought, and I'm being shown that I'm not so much.
Praise God, praise God. Yes.
Say, my prayer to God always is, let me never forget where I came from.
Yes.
Being humble.
Yes.
Well, he had to show me because I forgot.
When the Lord first gave me this call to pastor a church, and I don't think anybody has quite gotten it yet. The thing he told me, and I pray that you guys catch it one of these days. He said, stay small. He didn't mean the size of the church or the congregation. Stay small in your own eyes. Stay small. Whatever you do. And I tell you, I get blessed every time I say that. I say it all the time to myself.
It's almost like stay humble.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, use your language.
Always remember where you were.
Which verse are you on now, so I know where we're at? All right.
He is the best. I love what I get to do. And it's never too hard. I think that sometimes, but it's never too hard because I don't do it. He does it through me. I don't do it. So
Well, that's good.
whatever I get done he does it through me. If I mess it up, he's showing me how not to mess it up. I don't get all bent out of shape when I mess it up, but I found out how not to do it. So So we have to get to verse number 7.
No, we didn't. Yes, there we go.
But Israel is here because Israel forgot who God is. And we have to make sure that we never, ever forget who God is. I am so glad, not that you're here tonight
I
on,
don't think, I never forgot who God was. I think it was one of the ones that I forgot that I actually needed him.
you just forgot who you were.
Yes.
And I am so glad that you're here, and I'm glad you're here. Because, we all need to be reminded who we are and who we are in Him, because that's what we lose when we're away. They lost who they were. And so they got out here and they thought they were just like other people. When God calls you, you're not who you were.
But it's not funny is probably the wrong word. It's like, I almost kind of find it funny that I was talking to Penny about not knowing, and then this is what we're talking about. It's just like, okay, that's what it is.
Yeah. The days of visitation are come. This is verse number 7. The days of recompense are come. Israel shall know it. The prophet is a fool. The spiritual man is mad for the multitude of thine iniquity and the great hatred. This is a two-part thing here, I believe. This is what the people of Israel said about Hosea. Why would they say that about Hosea? Because Hosea is telling them some bad stuff is coming up on you guys. And they're like, are you kidding me, man? We're here, we got all of this stuff. We're here, we're partying, we got these great gods that we're worshiping, we got all this. And Hosea said, God, you're going mad. And they said, no, you're going mad. You're prophesying all this bad stuff, and look around us. Look around us. They said, dude, you are a fool. You can't see what's going on. But Hosea is saying the same thing about the prophets that they're listening to. They're listening to the false prophets. He's saying that guy's mad. That guy's a fool. So he is telling them this because they thought they were prospering. So they were all happy, so they thought. Hosea was announcing the coming judgment and called for repentance. They were repent for what? Look at all this. They couldn't see. Their eyes were blinded. So they thought he was a fool and they thought he was crazy. The watchman of Ephraim is what Israel was sometimes called. They said the watchman of Ephraim was with my God. This is Hosea. Why is it saying he's with my God? Because Israel had so many true prophets before who were with their God. As such was Hosea himself, he was with God. What that means was God was with him. He followed after God. So God was with him as all true prophet was. And he was helped by God. This is what Isaiah is saying. He was always with God. God was always with him. And he was always looking out for the future of God's people. But they thought he was mad because of what he was saying to them. And that's what will happen when you're telling people things and they don't see it. You're a little bit off. You're a little bit off. But the prophet is a snare of a fowler in all his ways, and hatred in the house of his God. The false prophet was a snare. Because he was telling them all this good stuff, and it was causing them some problems. He was continually deceiving the people, and leading them into snares, and infusing into their hearts deep hatred against God and his worship. This is why they were turning to these other gods. Because these other people was worshiping these gods, and they had all of this abundance. But God had taken it from these other people that were in the land that was flowing with milk and honey when they came in. And God took it from these people and gave it to them. Well, they were supposed to go in and take it from these people, but they went in and started fighting. God said, don't go in and be like that. Don't go in and follow their gods. Don't go in and do that. And well, they went in and hooked up with them. They went in and married, the women married their sons, they went in and started worshiping with them, they went in and started partying on their threshing floors, because they thought these gods were giving them all of this abundance. And needless to say, it did not make God happy. Verse number 9, I think I just went through. Yeah, I just went through 8. Verse number 9, they have deeply corrupted themselves, as in the days of Gibeah. Therefore he will remember their iniquity, and he will visit their sins. That's not good. If we go back to Judges 19, and we're not going to, it describes some horrific crimes of perversion and violence in Israel in the days of the judges. Hosea says that in his day, as it is just as bad in Israel. Through God's judgment, the whole tribe perished except 600 men. Deeply they must have already corrupted themselves. Though God waited a long time, he didn't forget. And so he won't forget Israel's iniquity. Yes.
In all of his judgments, does he always leave a remnant?
Oh,
Yeah.
and he will leave a remnant.
Yeah,
He always leaves a remnant
yeah,
because of the promise he made with Abraham.
yeah.
He never ever forgets that promise.
Jesus came from David, he's saying, yeah,
Exactly. That's why.
yeah.
Yes.
He also made a promise to David too.
David was the last end of that promise, and Jesus came out of David.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because he made a promise to David too.
Yes.
Yeah, Abraham and then David too.
Yeah.
He would always leave somebody.
Yes. Always leave somebody. And then Jesus came, and then that was it. And here we are.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the whole reason for leaving that remnant, so Jesus could get it. Isn't that amazing? He brought all, and I want to say this: through all of those people were broken except Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Everyone. That gives me hope.
Yeah.
Wow. He will not forget Israel's iniquity. Now, you would say, well, he left. Remember, you know why he left? Because he's not just talking about a small group, he's talking about a whole nation. A whole nation has gone mad. Kind of like this nation. Kind of like this nation. When you look at it, I know it's not everybody, but the majority of this nation has gone mad. We have turned our back against God as a whole. Surely there are people that love the Lord. Surely there are people that worship the Lord. But as a whole, we have turned our back. We're a minority. Yeah. It's sad to say, but we're a minority. Number 10, I found Israel like grapes in the wilderness. I saw your fathers as the first ripe in the fig tree at the first time, but they went to Baal Peor, and separated themselves unto that shame, and their abominations were according as they loved. In other words, they were just like the gods that they worshiped. They left God who called them and went to the idol which could not call them. Baal Peor, as his name probably implies, was the filthiest and foulest of all pagan gods. It appears that his worship consisted in deeds of shame, and that's what his name was, God of shame. The God of shame. They separated themselves from God in order to unite themselves with the God of shame. He was a God of, God appeal, let's just leave that.
Were they doing the sacrifices of their children and stuff?
Yes,
I thought so.
they were doing that sacrifice, they were sacrificing their children, they were sexually immoral, they were, you name it, they were there. Yes, they were doing the temple prostitutes, the women they were not only temple prostitutes, they were just prostituting themselves, period. She's crazy. Let me see, I got some other news on that too. I got them in two or three different places here, so. Kim?
We discussed number 10, we're on the
Yeah,
line.
that's what I'm gonna go back to. I get in the second part of my news here. Yeah, they were doing some crazy things. We found them as first ripe grapes, these grapes whose bud having come first and being exposed, most of the sun have been the first ripe upon the tree, which tree was now bigger of youth and bore fruit for the first time. A metaphor of rising prosperity of the Jewish state. So they were very prosperous at that particular time, but they were of no good to God. But they took this and worshiped before this God of shame. And they had to come as abominable as this object of their love. So they were abominable before God. So anything that they brought before God was divided. He would not accept it, could not accept it.
Is that in likeness to what he says does, that you can't have two masters?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they thought because where they were worshiping at, I'll give the name of it here in a minute. Gilgal. First was a place where God's prophets were taught. So they thought if this was a place where God's prophets were taught, even though we're worshiping idols here now, it would still be okay with God. And so, yeah, I know we're worshiping idols here, but it used to be a place of worship for God, so God ought to be okay with it.
It would be like bringing a sack of cash into the church and worshiping that.
Exactly. That's what they were thinking.
Like,
That's exactly what they were. In other words, their minds had gone back. It'd be like instead of worshiping God in here, we start bringing whatever
yeah.
and start worshiping God. Say, well, this
It's
is
like
a
a
church.
worldly thing, like you said, a lot of the churches are very worldly, and that's exactly what.
And they think it's okay.
Yeah.
They think it's okay.
When you realize the church is better worldly than they're trying to stay away from.
That's what we're supposed to do. But what do? We start looking at, well, if so-and-so thinks it's okay. If Reverend Dr. So-and-so thinks it's okay, then it must be okay. Yes.
I think people prefer comfort over truth, that's what it is.
Speaking of that, people prefer comfort over truth. I was in Roatan. I can't think of the name of the country. Roatan. Anyway, I was in Roatan. And they have a church at 3,000 members. It was maybe twice the size of this sanctuary, had 6 big pillars, 2 more at that corner, and then 2 more about that far back. No walls, canvas stretched over top of those 6 pillars. Canvas had holes in it, and it was in the middle of the rainforest. And they met every Sunday. Walked miles to get there. No seats. They had 3,000 people.
I just spoke to a brother about that today, in Sudan.
Yeah,
They're having, they're able to pray for people in the name of Jesus, and people are being raised from the dead, and I was asking God about it. And he said, it's the lack of faith in me, that's why you're not seeing things
It's
like that
the
happen
lack
here. And I'm like,
of
wow.
faith. It's the lack of faith.
Yes.
It is the lack of faith. I have seen very few miracles. I have seen them, but I have seen very few miracles since I've become a Christian. And I see fewer and fewer all the time. And it's not because preachers don't pray, or you don't pray, or she don't pray, but it's because people don't have the faith to come and be prayed over. And if they do have the faith, when they walk out, the faith is gone. They leave it in the building. I remember once I prayed for a woman in a wheelchair. I don't know why I prayed for the woman in a wheelchair, except it was in my head to go pray for the woman in a wheelchair. I wasn't a preacher. You don't go pray for somebody unless you're a preacher in the church I came from. You know that. And I went to this woman and I said to her, "Sister, do you want to walk?" And she said, no, she didn't say anything. And I said, "Do you believe if I pray for you that you can get out of that chair and walk?" She did. MS?
Yeah.
Multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
And I did, right there in that church where I didn't have any business praying for her. And I did. I laid hands on her and I prayed for her. And she immediately started crying. And one of the preachers said, "You should not have done that. You should not be praying for her."
Oh.
Yeah, one of the preachers said that. And I left. I didn't feel bad. I just left. I saw her a couple of years later. She was in a nursing home. She said, "You know why that I didn't get out of the chair when you said I should get up?" I said, "No, I don't." She said, "Because I liked my husband taking care of me the way he was." She said, "I believed I could have walked, but I didn't because I wanted my husband taking care of me that way." Well, this time I saw they had been divorced. She didn't have a husband anymore. I think, yeah, it is.
3,000 people in a building with no seats, no walls.
And they don't care about it.
Right.
They don't care about that. They do not care. This was in the Honduras, Roatan. It was in Honduras.
Oh, yeah.
And they were, I said, "This is your church?" He said, "Yeah." No seats in the rainforest. I thought, wow. He said, "Yeah, we have 3,000 people on this Sunday."
Here, we're spoiled.
You said something about miracles and that made me think of the movie Breakthrough,
Mhm.
where the kid fell through the ice and the miracle, the fact that he came out of that. And like one of his teachers was like, "Well, why did good things happen to some people and not others?" And it's like, or why does God listen to some people and not others? I forget exactly how she asked it, but it's like, that was the lack of faith, I believe, or even like, it just wasn't meant for her. It was meant for her husband to just go home to that, or whatever the case may be, but it's a question, something like that is.
Now, I know God heals because I prayed for my mom a long time, and God did heal her from cancer. She doesn't have cancer no more, so that was a big miracle and blessing. Yes.
I asked one of my pastors one time before I started pastoring. I knew I was getting ready to go out to pastor. And matter of fact, I was going to the nursing homes at the time. And I said, "Well, what happens when you go and pray for people and they don't get healed?" And he looked at me and said, "That ain't your business. That's God's business. You just pray and go on."
Well, they look at it later too, sometimes it's not.
And that was the only answer he gave. He said, "That is not your business. You pray, that's what God asked you to do. He never told you to heal anybody." And so, and he's right. No preacher knows whether anybody's going to get healed or not. He just does his job and he leaves. Yes.
The answer to that is, we don't have the power to heal. Wow.
God has the power to heal. And he may heal somebody, you may pray for somebody over here, somebody over there.
Yeah.
You never know. Yes.
And then it also says in days that, the children of Satan will be able to do signs and wonders.
You can bet on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can bet on it.
And I think I feel like I don't know if I consider, I kind of feel like I know somebody who is like almost kind of like a miracle. And I mean, I don't know that that's the right word to use. The reason I bring him up is, I went to school with his mom. When she had him, he was what everybody would consider a normal baby.
Mhm.
And then he was making the leaps at the ages that he should have been. Like when he was like however many months old, he was doing these things that he should have been doing. And they had it tested, and found that he has, it's called SMA. It's a mix between MS and ALS in adults. They gave her, I think it was less than 50% chance that he made it to the age of 1. Even smaller chance that he made it to the age of 2. This boy is 9 and is leaving the out today. And I consider that a miracle. I consider that a living miracle that I see on a daily.
Yeah.
Because like he, in every way, when it comes to what doctors have said, he shouldn't be here, but he is. I mean, he carries a full conversation with you. He is in a wheelchair. However, he can have a full conversation with you. He can stand for some periods of time, but I mean, you just never know. I mean,
Yeah, I would call that a miracle, for sure. I would. But, you know, God has a part to do, we have a part to do. First thing we have a part to do is have faith in God. That's the first thing. Have faith in God. And the book tells us faith without wavering. Believe God. Believe Him all the time. If He heals, He heals. If He doesn't, people go, why didn't He heal me? I tell you what to do, just ask God.
Yeah.
Just ask God. Well, you're not this. No, I don't have the power to heal. I do have the authority to pray. I have that. And I will pray for a horse. I don't care. I don't care. You will pray for my dog. I'll pray for your dog and your cat. Yes.
My brother, he prayed for his paint spray.
Yeah.
It was broke. He came back from his break and he said it was working. He said, God heard my prayer. I was like, that's faith. Like he took the initiative to even pray to God about the paint spray that was spraying all over the road.
What is Leslie's name? Diamond's niece.
Shenmue?
Yes.
We used to go out and do the boys' prisons. We went and she had a knot on her tire. And we went to the boys' thing and she had no spare. We would crying, oh Lord, don't let that thing pop. Sure enough, it popped. We kept driving. It never went flat.
God is something else.
Never went flat. We got back to the church. Didn't even have a hole in it.
wow.
So, you know, why does God do stuff like that? Because He loves us.
Yeah.
Because he can.
Yeah, because He can. That's right. And if you see Leslie today and ask about it, I'll be willing to bet you should tell you a story. Yeah. Yeah. God is God. And if you're faithful to Him, He's faithful to you. And sometimes He's faithful to you when you're not. Okay, verse number 11. We were on 10, right?
Yes, we're only looking at.
Now we are on 11. I tell you what, God, you say, well, why is He doing this to them and He doesn't do this to us? Because He told them He would. He said, if you are faithful, if you will keep my commandments, here's what I'll do. But if you don't, here's what's going to happen to you. Well, they didn't. As Ephraim, verse number 11, as for Ephraim, their glory shall fly away like a bird from the birth and from the womb and from the conception. What is he saying right here? The glory of you that I have put on you, when people see you, they know that you are my people. That's what he's saying. Your glory, if you don't keep my commandments, this is part of the curse. Your glory shall fly away from you like a bird. It'll be gone. Yes, ma'am.
And also in my footnotes, it says, the punishment fits the sin.
Say again.
The punishment fits the sin.
The punishment fits the sin. But here's what will happen. People will say, this punishment is too harsh. What we did isn't this bad. That's what will happen. The punishment fits the sin. But it will suddenly spring away and it won't return. Just like a bird. A bird flies away, it don't come back. Not if you had held it captive. So what is the rest part of this thing say? From the birth, and from the womb, and from the conception. Go ahead.
So it says, prostitution produces no increase.
Okay, what he's saying here is, you'll have a dry womb. If you do raise up kids, they're gonna die. And basically, you're not gonna have kids, that's what he's saying. Your womb is gonna be barren. I am going to take everything from you. You won't have any kids, and if you do have kids, they're gonna die. That's a rough. Yes.
The scripture says our children are a heritage of the Lord.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where our parents used to get. Kids are a blessing, and I mean, look like, really? That missed me somewhere. But that's where our parents get that from. They get it out of them. Kids, children are a blessing. It's written in the word. But they are a blessing from the Lord. Because back in the day, it was a blessing to have children. Back then, they thought if you didn't have children, it was a curse. But it was only a curse under this covenant. Under this covenant. If people don't have children now, that's not necessarily a curse.
That's where people, some of them take it overboard and like, I'm gonna have as many kids as possibly can.
Well-
Because that's a blessing for each one that I get.
Well, some people that was true, like my dad, that was true, that they had as many children as they can. My dad was a sharecropper, he needed all the workers in the field he had. So that was true for him. But for somebody living in the city and all they wanted to do be on welfare, that wasn't good.
These people aren't on welfare, but it's like, I think they're taking parts of the word and not all of it.
Oh, yeah.
As in like,
Well, if they can afford them, I knew a family that had 22 children, they could afford them. And it was fine for them,
The Amish.
but it's like, there's one of those.
but they need them in the field.
But there's also like that thing called self-control, like, I hate to like go and talk down on it, but it's like the Duggars. Like, I feel like that was wrong, like they don't use birth control, they don't really use self-control. Like these, from what I'm getting, this husband of hers is like, the woman shall always submit to him, like she is basically not allowed to say no. And I believe that submitting to your husband can be a thing if your husband is doing the things that he needs to do as well. Like, he needs to treat you as his wife, and he needs to do things for you as his wife, and not treat you horribly and expect you to be submissive. Like,
That's
you can't be
the
submissive
thing.
to a man that's gonna treat you not the greatest, like this, there's just not, there's like a fine line there, I believe.
That submissive thing goes both ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it goes both ways. It does go both ways, and if you're gonna have a bunch of kids, that should be agreed upon. It
Absolutely.
shouldn't be forced.
Well, it wasn't forced specifically.
Well, what you just said was forced to me.
That's right, it's
Yeah.
almost, I feel like it was forced because he almost basically demands the submissive.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something that they agree upon, gonna have 900 kids, okay, that's wonderful.
Right.
If that's what they agree upon. But if it's one of those things that you're gonna do it just because you said it, that's not a good deal. Because, childbirth is not easy.
That's,
Like, I almost feel like it took her losing her last pregnancy, like, she delivered that baby at a very young gestation, and the baby inevitably didn't survive.
That can
And
happen.
I feel like it took that to like,
I think, childbirth should be agreed upon.
yeah,
And submission goes both ways. Scriptures tell us that.
right, that's why I feel like there are some people that only live off of heart.
do you need the water or anything?
I really do. Thank you, Joe.
Or,
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, some people do that. Well, you gotta be submissive to me. They only read one part. First off, the men wanna read the women part, and they don't read that part. Men don't have any business reading the women's part. Men should read the men's part, the women should read the women's part. Women should read the women, men should read the men, and then they can get together and read them together. But I always taught that you know, if you're a husband and a wife, you should read the Bible together, but the men should look at what his part is, woman should look at what her part is, and then they should follow it.
Right.
And if they can't do that, then they're not really a team. That's the way I see that. But any other way is somebody is trying to be a ruler or somebody. God never called anybody to be anybody's ruler.
Right. Well, that's why they said that, he's written from Adam is that, so that he's not above or below or beside.
Yeah, somebody said that, I don't know if that's very true. I've heard people say that, but I don't know if that's true or not. But, he made the two of them to be a helper to each one. And, we carry that way too far. The two of us, man and woman, they are supposed to be one. And when one is trying to rule over the other, I know the scripture said that the man will be ruler over the woman, but that's not how it's meant, ruler. We need to look at that and see what that means. I know the scripture says it just that way because that's the way the English language runs, but it's not meaning like that kind of ruler. And people get in their heads that one is supposed to rule with an iron fist, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. I've been married for 50 years, been with my wife for 54 years, and that's not how we operate. So I don't believe it's supposed to be that way. I could do that if I wanted to, but that's too hard. That's just way too hard.
Think of how unhappy she would
I don't ever think of trying to make her unhappy.
be. Right, I feel like she would be unhappy if you were like that though.
Well, if I had started 54 years ago, she would think that's the way it's supposed to be. I mean, but why do that? Because think about how unhappy I would be. I would have to be that way every day. So I would rather come home and sit down and laugh and talk and, you know, do all that other good stuff rather than come home and make somebody do something.
Right. Seems awesome.
That would be crazy. That would really be crazy. Then I'd have to be careful, wondering what she put in her food. I'm gonna live like that. Yeah. Are you gonna
Try
taste
it
it?
first.
Yeah, you gonna taste it?
Yeah, it's better to be in a good mood instead of a bad mood, yeah.
Yeah. You know, those people I believe are not really Christian. I don't believe that they're Christian. I don't care what church they go to. I don't care how well they know the Bible. If they're living like that, I don't really believe they're Christian.
No, it's a God of order, and there's a reason for the order that he has, and it's not that the person on the top of the totem pole is any better than the person that seems to be a lower stature. He doesn't look at it like that.
No, he doesn't.
We do, and it's kind of ignorant.
See, that what people don't understand is, and I'm glad you put that like that. The guy on the bottom, the guy on the top of the totem pole couldn't be on the top of the totem pole if the one on the bottom wasn't doing his job.
Yeah.
So you know, everybody has a part to play. So if that one on the bottom is not doing his part, guess what? You can't be on the top. So you gotta be thankful for the one that's on the bottom and treat that one on the bottom like, hey, you know what? I appreciate you because you're the one that's holding me up. You know, people just look at, wow, you ain't worth nothing.
Unlike the body of Christ, the hands and the feet, he said, you
Exactly.
don't need one without the other.
Exactly.
Yeah, you need the whole team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
When we don't look at things like, we can think I'm the most important, what is it? Our pastor used to say, the man is the head and the woman is the neck. The neck turns the head all the time.
It's just teamwork.
It's teamwork, that's what it's about. It's teamwork, and that's what it's supposed to be. A man that doesn't treat his wife as an equal doesn't really love his wife.
He doesn't love himself.
He doesn't love himself, that's what the word says.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And if a woman can't treat her husband the same way, she doesn't love herself or her husband. So it's as simple as that. We ain't not gonna even finish this chapter today.
That's fine. There's no big hurry. There's no big hurry. We get
There
it.
is no big hurry.
Yeah.
the Bible is not meant to be read in one day.
Well, that you already know on Sundays, we come in here, planning to preach one thing, and now it changes on a constant basis.
It happens a lot.
You never
It
know.
happens. Okay, let's see if we can finish verse number 11. As for Ephraim, the glory shall fly away, their glory shall fly away like a bird, from birth and from the womb and from the conception. I got another note on that too. I tried to take 2 or 3 different notes from 2 or 3 different places because there are so many people that have so much to say, and I try to take a note from each one of them. So Ephraim parted with God. His true glory in turn would quickly take from him all created glory, all which he counted glory, or in which he gloried. When man parts with the substance, his true honor, God takes away the shadow. So the glory that man has is just a shadow of the glory that God has. So when you turn your back on God, he takes his shadow away from you. Unless he should content himself therewith and not see his shame. So God removes the shadow of his glory so man would see his shame, his own shame, and boast in himself to be something, abide in his nothingness and poverty and shame to which he had reduced himself. So he would abide in his shame, thinking he is something that he really not. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Fruitfulness and consequent strength had been God's special promise to Ephraim or Israel. His name, Ephraim, contained in itself the promise of his future fruitfulness, in contrast to their past fruitfulness. Now Israel will experience barrenness and bereavement. That's what they was talking about. The woman's going to be barren, and he was going to kill any kids that they wouldn't have. If they grow up, he was going to kill them, and if those kids had any children, he was going to kill them. So they just was not going to produce at all because God's curse was on them. Because God's curse. Okay, let's go to verse number 12, and you'll see that. Though they bring up their children, verse number 12 said, yet will I bereave them. In other words, they will die. That there shall not be a man left, yea, woe also to them when I depart from them. So, okay, so I didn't, all your children from your womb did die. Some got past me. But guess what? They won't die anyway. Or if they don't die, guess what? They won't have any children. And were they even to have children, I would bereave them of them. In other words, I'll take their children. But when I depart from them, they shall have all manner of wretchedness and woe. He will make those children childless. What a promise to have from God. What a promise to have. Not that your womb is going to be fruitful, but your womb is going to be fruitless. You are going to live with knowing that you brought this curse upon your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. God had threatened to deprive them of children in every stage before or at their birth. Nor beyond this. Now, beyond this, he tells them, as to those who should escape this sentence, he would bereave them or make them childless. Why? Because you chose not to follow my command. Wow. What a way to go. But when we came in, you promised that we were going to have this land. Yes, as long as you follow my command. As long as you do what I say. And my children, they don't do it now because they're all grown up, they don't live with me. You can have this or that as long as you listen to what I tell you.
Jesus says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments and you will not be grievous to me.
That's right. Meaning, if you do it, you're going to be blessed for it.
Yeah.
You will be blessed for keeping my commandments.
What can I say? The thought that comes in my mind is what But my mom always said, told me, if you live in my house, you'll obey my rules.
Yeah.
And
That's basically what they said. Because when you stop obeying my rules, I'm kicking you out of the game.
Yeah, you-
If we keep going down there, those are exact words to them.
And if you wanna live by your own rules, you go live your own.
Go get your own house. Go get your own house. And, you will find out your house will not be as great as my house. Yeah,
And Jesus evicted Satan out of hell.
sure did. Get out. You hold you that bad, okay, go get your own place. Go get your own place. I will tell you a story that you might not like, or, you may not agree with. Here's a story that, from one of the places that I studied from. In the beginning, God created heaven and the earth. Verse number 1, Genesis 1:1. Genesis 1:2, and the earth was without form and void. What happened to the earth and made it without form and void? Somewhere between 1 and 2, Satan got kicked out of heaven and he tried to make his own place and ruined it. And God had to come back and recreate it, and he started talking about the land coming around and do that. That's one of the schools that I went to. That's what they say.
But we don't really know, right? It doesn't say.
Uh,
We would
and-
assume that.
And one of the, I say one of the schools that I went to taught.
Yeah.
So when he came down, he tried to make his own place and he just ruined what God had already created. Because God created the heavens and the earth. All right, so now verse number 2 says, waters covered the face of the earth. Okay, how did that happen? Because the dry land was called earth. So now you're telling me it's all covered with water. So God had to come back and move all the water back to its place.
So that's something.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what happened. So that's another story. We're talking about that. So we're going to end at verse number 12, and then maybe we'll get to verse number 17 next week. But I really enjoyed tonight's study.
Yeah.
We found out something about Israel. Israel wanted to do things their own way. And you will find out that they're not done yet. Because Israel is like us, they're pretty stubborn. And they haven't quite caught on, and God is not done. I would maybe go back a couple scriptures, a couple of books, and show you where God has promised these things, and I'll show you some books where some of the things they did still are in places like that. Yes.
I had the impression as I knew that they were right, I read good as well. And then I looked through some of the different commentaries. I got the impression that they didn't say they were Hosea.
They did not.
They didn't believe it. They thought he sounds so.
Well, Hosea was giving them this prophecy in the middle of their party.
Yeah.
When everything was going good, he was giving them this prophecy because these things hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, that was just, they didn't believe it.
Say that again.
Judges 19. you mentioned that.
Yes, yes.
I found that, I remember.
Yeah.
Judges 19.
Yeah, and so, yeah, they were into some crazy stuff. Yeah. So we are going to, next week, we're gonna come back in Hosea number 12. Hosea 9 and 12 is where we'll start next week, and we will go to 13 at least. But we will look at where Israel was having some problems. We will look at what was going on in Gilgal, and we will talk about that. And prayerfully, we will get into Hosea 10, and if we don't, we got until Jesus comes. Okay? Dick, you want to dismiss us today?
Okay, so Heavenly Father, thank you for being here. Take it out, the laws, You need, I'm going to be our witness for you. You shall be. Thank you for all that you do. Bless you, shield you, Lord. Mary, dear Lord, and let them see. And then the city clear. Thank you for all that you've done. We want to live and go back. Safeguard that. Watch the animals too.
Amen. All right, have a good night.
Oh, it was good seeing everybody.
Good seeing you. So 3 o'clock tomorrow, Jan?
Yes.
3 o'clock tomorrow?
Yes, yes. Melanie?
Yeah.
You talked about